Knock him out the box, Rick. Knock him out, Rick. Knock him out the box. Topics.
To me, the big thing, I'm not saying like kids shouldn't listen to their parents, but one thing is some kids listen to their parents too much to the point where they don't explore their own creativity. You know, your parents can hold you back from doing a lot of things. They can keep you on a single route from point A to point B. And like, yeah, that's the easiest way to get to somewhere without finding out about yourself. You want to find out if you like music, you want to find out if you like playing soccer. You can't do that if they're just making you do academics from point A to point B, you know? You go from elementary school to college. Are you going to do any extracurriculars? Nothing, you know?
Absolutely, man. I got to tell you, Johnny, like you figured out a lot of things that took me a long time to figure out. And let me tell you this way. Parents are regular people. I'm sure anyone listening would say most of the people they know aren't the most emotionally intelligent people, right?
Right.
Those are parents. That means there's a very good chance whoever's listening, their parents aren't the most emotionally intelligent, which means those kids' lives are limited by those parents that are
Right.
like, no, you're going to play the fucking piano, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I don't care. You don't like it. You playing the piano is good for you. And they're doing it because they think it's good for them, but they don't realize there's so many options. Why not help your child figure out what they actually love and then set them free and they're going to be successful?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think with parents,
They're
this
going to be
is
more
like,
successful because it takes 10 years to grind. If you don't love it, you're going to quit.
exactly.
You're going to burn out.
I think with parents, this is kind of like something that parents should take advice from. Like, I'm a kid, but I'm kind of just trying to give them advice to help them with their kids.
Right.
I think parents need to be less hands-on and kind of relax and let their kids make the mistakes that they would make as a kid. Like, you're 16 years old. It's not like you're gonna like fuck up your life so bad to where you're gonna be like poor, $0. You know, there's always something. Like, there's always a mistake that's like beneficial.
Okay,
Even
so I love this conversation. Let me ask you a certain way because there's going to be parents out there listening going, yeah, you could you could get pregnant, you can become a
Yeah.
drug addict, you become a crackhead. So it's a deeper question, but maybe address it that way. Like, how do parents give their kids enough space, but yet protect them?
Okay, yeah. Let's see if
And
I can
I
reword
have my own
this.
opinion, but I'd love to hear
Yeah.
yours.
Okay, so in life, there are a lot of things that I understand parents need to have a hold of, you know, pregnancy, like you just said, or like getting into drugs. My understanding of that is if someone wants or if a kid wants to try it, like try to do it, I'd rather them or the parents have a relationship with the kid to be open enough to where the kid can come to the parent and be like, "Hey, can I try this? You know, I've always wanted to try it, see what it's like," instead of having to go behind the parents' back
Right.
and do it illegally or without them. And that like ends up having them go into like a deep hole and they're a drug addict at some point.
Right.
But in terms of having like the parents be hands on or not, what I think in that aspect is creativity. Like, if your kid wants to go out and play sports, or if your kid wants to go out and make music or try to sell like their drawings or artwork, I think parents should let their kids do that, or what brings them enjoyment, and let their kids figure that part out on themselves, you know?
Great. I love that. And let me address the other part because that's what I think. Like, let them express themselves to figure out who they are. There's all kinds of ways to make money.
Right.
If they can find a passion, that's where the money's going to come. So that's something I agree
Yeah.
with. And let your kids explore their interests versus forcing them into your own interests or what you think they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Which is it's not the natural way to find yourself and feel fulfilled. It's a different way of thinking. It's not that easy, right?
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
it's where parenting is going, I think.
Parents,
The other thing about the kids doing crazy stuff and getting pregnant and drugs and all that stuff, to your point, I want to address that because here's the thing. The reality is you got to parent your kids from zero to 3 years old, like is the most important.
Right.
Then from 3 to 13 is extremely important. And then 13 to 16 is very important. But when they get to 16, the game is over
Yeah.
because they technically could just pack up and run away. Like you don't have a choice at that point. And I've helped a lot of my parent friends out when they were having problems with their teenagers,
Right.
serious problems. And all of them, I gave them the same advice. You got to be friends with them at this point. You got to
Right.
guide them at this point. You got to let them come to you and say, "Hey, I want to try pot or whatever,"
Yeah.
and just have a conversation. But in order to do that, you got to talk to them like a friend. If your friend came to you and said, "I want to try weed," you wouldn't say, "What? What did you say to me? What the hell are you talking about? Are you crazy?"
Right.
Your family would be like, "What the fuck is up your ass? I'm never going to come tell you shit." And they're never going to come tell you ever again they want to try something. You got to be willing to change how you approach your kid. And that means
Yeah.
letting go of your kid being a baby. And that's the hardest thing to do, man, because if the change happens quick, you know, from boys to men, from girls to women happens really quick, man.
Yeah.
Like that 13-year mark, whew, light switch. You got to catch up and go. By the time they're 15, when Cody was 15, I basically had to talk with him like, you are a grown man, but you still live here and this isn't a hotel, so I need you to do certain shit. Do your end. And it's fair. I'm fair with him. Okay. But I'm giving him space as long as he meets certain requirements, right? Like he still lives here. Okay. You got to get certain grades. Let's say you got to, because that takes effort. You got to make an effort. Other than that, I'm letting him explore himself, like what he wants to do, how he wants to train. But I'm here to guide him at all times. Right.
Yeah.
But for us to have gotten to this point where I'm close with him and I'm able to like talk with his friends like this, right?
Yeah.
You guys are open with me because you've seen I'm genuinely open with Cody and my kids. Like
Right.
I never filtered their language. They would always be able to talk however they want with their friends with me. You guys know on those
Yeah.
long ass
It's crazy.
trips, you know, basketball trips. But that's why I did that. I was very like intentional about having that relationship where I would tell Cody, for example, when my kids were little, I told him, if you come and tell me the truth about some shit you did, I don't care if you murdered somebody, right? They're like 6 years old, but I'm like, I'm just saying to
Yeah.
shock them, like it could be anything. You accidentally killed somebody. I won't get mad at you if you come tell me. Now, if you don't tell me, it's going to be a problem and I'm not going to trust you.
Right.
If you don't want me to trust you, that's on you. But I promise you, if you tell me the truth first, and you come to me and tell me, I can't get mad at you. And if I do, you can tell me to my face, fuck you. You said you couldn't get mad at me. I told them that. And those words, I really got their attention because I needed them to be honest with me. So they would do stuff like 2 months after they got in trouble with the principal, hey, daddy, I didn't tell you, but I want you to know I got sent to the principal for fighting, but it ended up, they gave me a note. I never gave it to you and they never asked me and I didn't tell you. And I'm just telling you now. And I'm
Right.
like, good for you. That's my man. I would like praise him. Like, you're the man. Awesome. Thanks for, you didn't have to tell me. And then after I got done praising him, I said, okay, like, hey, but what happened? Let's talk about
Yeah.
it. Could you have handled it? He's like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have got upset. Okay, cool. Done. So we had the talk. And the key is that he trusts me now to come tell me I fucked up. I tried drugs. I drank and I drove a car. Like they always know, like if you get drunk, I don't drink. I'm not drinking, daddy. I go, I know. But if you decide to take drinks because somebody pressured you, I'll come pick you up. No questions asked.
Right.
Right? Because it's not about that. Then we can have a philosophical conversation about, do you want to get into drinking now? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like my kids feel comfortable telling me like about these things because they know there's no judgment.
Mm.
It's hard to get there though, but if your kid is 16, it's too late. You
Right.
gotta, and I've seen parents that kind of spoiled their kids and maybe gave them too much growing up. Let's say, like, meaning didn't establish boundaries, didn't their kids didn't do well in school, like, a lot of things that happen that maybe aren't what they wanted for their kids or their relationship with their kids. But when they were 16, they took the advice of just being their friend and they completely flipped the relationship and helped their kid figure out, hey, they're not good at school, but they love makeup.
Right.
So, okay, how do we get you into a makeup school? Like, and now the kid's coming to them like, hey, I'm screwing up in this. Okay, let's figure it out. Nothing is nothing is off the table because they flip the switch to friendship.
Right.
Is the only choice at that point, because otherwise you push them away and they want to be independent, so they want your help, but they're not going to ask you if they know you're going to blow up at them. It's
Right.
too late for that. Like,
Yeah.
you got to not blow up at your kids, but set those, whatever you want your kids to learn, skill sets, you got to do that at a young age.
I think going back to the parents and like the whole thing about parents and stuff understanding a kid, I think if a parent is like like they neglect their child so much or they don't understand and listen to what the child has to say, they like the kid becomes so rebellious to the point where it's like the relationship is just broken, you
Right.
know. And that's the thing where like the control happens, you know. 16, that's when teenagers really like to try things or get into new things. But if the relationship isn't there and the kid and the parents hate each other because the parent is too over controlling, then it's just gonna be anger and fuss
Right.
until the kid actually gets out. That's
Right.
something that I really had in my head just now thinking about it. But when the parent is open and they listen to the kid about what they have to say and they really think like my child is has a word or something and they experience something that they want to tell me, then the parent should just be all ears, you know.
Right.
It shouldn't just be something that the kid has to hide or tell a friend, because parents are there for moral support and helping you and guiding you through life.
Right.
So I think the connection is all about understanding each other. It's
It's very hard though, man. Like,
yeah.
because I don't judge any parents, by the way, even if they don't maybe do it the way I learned to do it or whatever, right? Because we're subject of our environments growing up and our genetics, right? So,
Right.
like, if you were raised in a certain type of, you know, parenting household, you probably adopted that
Yeah.
way. So I think the first step really is to, like, kind of question everything that you learned just in case and go,
Yeah.
take a step back. Because, like, I was raised in a spanking family and I adopted that when I got married and had kids initially, that's totally normal. When they're one and they're like looking at you and they're purposely taking the keys, you smack their butt. Now I'm like totally flipped because I
Yeah.
at some point was like, it's got to be a better way, man. And it wasn't working on Ben. So I'm like, man, you know, this is not really probably. And then I started watching like Super Nanny, for example, on TV, and like, oh, you could do timeouts. Oh, that's okay. Try that, and then you learn, man. But you got to first be able to question your own learning, and not many parents are willing to do that. Knock him out the box, Rick. Knock him out, Rick. Knock him out the box. Topics.